Hey everyone, welcome back to On Purpose, the #1 health podcast in the world. Thanks to each and every single one of you that come back every week to listen, learn, and grow. Now, I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time. Not only am I talking to the one and only Big Sean, one of the most successful rappers out there, multiple #1 topping chart singles, albums on the Billboard. But what I'm fascinated about him is his dedication to personal growth, his journey with meditation, his focus on well-being, physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. And today we're going to talk about all of that right here on Purpose. Please welcome Big Sean.
Thank you, man. That was a great intro.
Well, it was from the heart, man. I feel it. Like when I started listening to your music, before I knew about your personal journey, I loved your music. And then I saw you start talking about what you were just speaking about, the books you read, the mindset you have, the journey you've been on personally. And I thought, this is someone, even before we were connected, I was like, this is someone I really want to get to know, because it's not easy to talk about the things you talk about.
Yeah.
It's not easy to be vulnerable in your position with the career you have, in the way you have. And so I can't wait to dive into it today. But I was going to start with something a bit different because we have a few more things in common.
Yeah.
I was reading somewhere that you said that in another life, you might have been a film critic.
Yeah.
and I love that because I love movies. So I was going to ask
too, man.
you.
I pick them. I don't pick them apart. You know, sometimes lately I've been watching movies just based on how it makes me feel. Like I take my critical hat off and I'm just like, I enjoy the good story, or, you know, like the hero's journey, or just like, you know, great pieces, great shows, great plots. You feel me?
What's been a movie that you feel has like defined the way you think or moved you in the way that you're speaking about right now, that left a lasting impact?
Forrest Gump, for sure. That's one of the ones that like struck me hard. The Matrix. I had like a special relationship with the Matrix because Neo's name was Mr. Anderson. So that's my last name too. So it always like struck a chord with me. Definitely like I'm a big nerd. So I love like Batman. I love all Marvel, DC.
Me too.
Anime, Dragon Ball Z, Star Wars, Star Trek. That's something that really my brother kind of got me into early on. But what I connected with, like everything about those things, like Dragon Ball or like Star Wars, they all have to deal with like that power within. And I feel like that's why I connected to it so much. It would be like against all possible odds, they would dig deep and go to a new level that people, you know, not only did not expect them to, but was quote unquote impossible. You feel me?
Yeah.
So things like that just always connected with like, and I'm still the same way. It's like, you know, you think you're going to outgrow something, but I never outgrew it. And, you know, I don't care what people think. Sometimes, you know, my girl would be like, nerd. And I'll be like, yeah, whatever. Though.
It's who I am.
It's who I am.
Yeah, it's who I am. People don't expect it because, you know, you're fashionable and you got swag, and then all of a sudden you start talking about movies.
I could talk about it all day, but not just that. Like I said, great movies, they go hand in hand. Like when I'm in the studio creating, like I have it set up where it's like these screens, and I'll play like 2 movies at once sometimes just for aesthetic. Not looking at them, but it's just I love it, man.
Yeah,
that's like definitely a passion of mine for sure. That maybe I'll tap into more later on in life. You know?
Yeah, I could see that
because I love writing, I love stories, I love all of that.
Yeah, have you directed your own music videos as well? Right?
Yeah, well, I have a best friend, Lawrence, who we actually did just start a production company, who's directed a lot of my big videos.
Yeah.
A lot of my big songs. We won some awards together and things like that. But for most of my life, music has always been my first priority, you know? But that is something that has also gotten me in trouble. You know, it's got me in trouble. And I'll explain that a little more because being from Detroit, right? And I'm from a family where they were hard workers. My grandma was one of the first female Black captains in World War II. She was one of the first female cops in Detroit. And then later she was done being a police officer. She was a teacher, a counselor. She was like a strong woman, you know, and my granddad too, they met in World War II, and he has a similar story of just being so strong. And I come from a family where it's like hard work, you know, and everyone went to college and is educated. And I was kind of the first in my family to go on a different career path. You know, my mom used to always play all these like Motown, like she would play Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, all these the Isley Brothers, like all always in the morning. And I kind of fell in love with the music, you know. But my whole life, I remember when I was graduating high school and was graduating with a high GPA. I was on my way with a full scholarship to college, but I wanted to do music. I knew I wanted to do music. And every time I got excited about it, I could just tell that it was real, you know? Like I could just feel the connection. Like I don't care what anybody could tell me, like, nah, you tripping. Don't, like, man, you know, you're gonna be out here with living on the street, man. If you know, you gotta play it safe. You gotta have a backup plan and all that stuff. And obviously that is a way for a lot of people. But for me, it was like I put all my eggs in one basket, denied, you know, my scholarship.
Yeah. Michigan State.
Yeah. And it didn't work out at first. You know, it didn't work out for me. You know, I was like, and that was the first time in my life where I hit a very big wall of depression, a very big wall of anxiety, a very, you know, pivotal moment in my life where I just didn't even feel like living. And this, you know, not to be dramatic, I was 18 years old, you know, but they are defining moments in your life. And when you're around 17 or 18, because you were around the same time when you saw that monk speak,
yeah,
because I'm also reading your book, Think Like a Monk. And that's a pivotal moment, you know, coming out of high school. And all my friends went to college. I didn't go, you know, I ended up meeting Kanye West, right? Rapping for him. This was my idol. This was my number one person who I wanted to sign to. And I felt like I manifested that. And my mom is someone who introduced certain books to me that I was reading at the time. When I was around 17, she introduced me to Esther and Jerry Hicks and also The Secret, you know, The Secret. And, you know, she was like, you can do it. Like you can manifest it. And I just believed it.
I was going to ask you about that moment from a different angle. People have heard you tell the story, but the way you're talking about it today, and also I find like our generation today is so lost in like procrastination, overthinking, overanalyzing, but you just went there and showed up without knowing if it was going to go anywhere. Like you were ready to be rejected, ready to fail, ready for it to fall flat on your face.
Yeah, because it was like, I couldn't look back and wish I woulda, coulda, shoulda, man. I just couldn't. I just felt like, I don't know why, and that was one of the concepts for one of my albums, but I just don't know why I felt like I lived a life already and like regretted it. And I was like, I just felt that in my heart as a young, you know, as a teenager. So I was like, I gotta make it happen. Like that was just it. It was no other option, you know? And she presented these books to me, and it's like she's like a guardian angel. It feels like when I look back on it, it's like, man, I really am living with angels, you know, like my mom, my grandma, because they would give me books I would never read, you know, give me books, try and introduce me to meditation and all these things. But it was when I felt hopeless, you know, and I hate that it got to that point, but I was young too, you know, and I was like, I might as well just pick this book up. I might as well let me just see what's going on with this, because this has to work. And when you pick those books up and you crack it open, you realize that the book was talking to you. You realize that these books have energy and that it's attracting you. It's not just because for no reason. It's like it's literally there ends up in your hands because it's destiny, you know? Yeah. And that's one of the things I learned as soon as I cracked it open. I remember reading the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success and tearing up, you know? And I remember reading Asking It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks and like feeling my whole vibration change. And that is one of the most, that is the first time that I realized that there are two realities. There's a reality that we see with our eyes and our feel and touch. And then there is a reality just as real where it is our spiritual world that we can create and manifest. And that is the reality with a capital R. You know what I'm saying? That's the real reality that you bring to the other reality. And so anyway, I did these exercises, man. I only read books because I had to in school. That was like my thing. Like
I can relate.
you know, and it was some good books, right? Like I remember we read Animal Farm, The Hobbit, all these great books that helped me, but I still never read on my own time. So these were the first books I read on my own time. You know, I graduated high school. I ended up meeting Kanye right before I graduated high school. So I ended up rapping for him. It's a classic fairy tale hip hop story. You meet your idol, you rap for him, he hears you out. And I had been recording CDs since I was 11 years old, man. So I had been passing out CDs around school, selling them for $5, $3. I had been participating in open mics, battle rapping. I had gone to the radio station every Friday after school, even when, you know, because when I turned 16, my grandmother had a stroke and she had a brand new car. So it was a bittersweet thing because it was tragic to see my grandma, you know, have a stroke, and the strongest woman I've ever seen literally get old instantaneously. And then I ended up getting a car, which provided me to get places that I needed to get to, you know, to make the moves I was trying to make. Cause I had that hustler mentality. I was like, I had to do it. You know, Eminem was the only rapper from Detroit at the time that was doing it big. And just to keep it real, I got to represent for Black, you feel me? And be like, and put on for my city. And I just felt the responsibility, man. And I know I'm skipping around a lot.
That's all good, man. That's all good.
Yeah, but I would do this radio show every week. And that led me to meeting Kanye because he was at the radio promoting his album, Late Registration, at the time. And, you know, I met him from doing the radio show there every Friday. I lied and said I left my phone in the back offices so they would let me in the back to go check because I knew that's where the artists would go. I got a chance to rap for him as he was walking out. You know, he was like, I'm real busy.
How did you have the courage to do that? Because I feel like people probably see you and they're like, oh, I want to go rap for Big Like, you know, people want to repeat.
All the time.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you think you were able to even have the courage to be like, I'm just going to find a way in the hallway? Like, you know, when he's walking, he's a busy guy.
Well, because when I did that radio show every Friday, we would rap on the air, on the radio.
Yeah.
That was the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever had to do in my life. It would be like, oh my God, everybody who's listening to the radio right now is hearing me. And that was a beautiful platform, right, for up-and-coming MCs to come in and display. And I would write a new verse every week, and I was super nervous. So I had done that for about a year straight already by the time I met him. So I was used to rapping under pressure.
Right.
So when I saw him and was delivering it, it was just like I had so many raps in my head already, and I was freestyling, and I was used to delivering under pressure. So I was able to dynamically, you know, I delivered it as best I could.
Yeah.
And he heard me. He heard me out, and he was like, well, you got a CD? And it's like, well, yeah, because I had CDs that I was selling in high school. I had my CDs ready. I had a bio ready. I had everything ready. And it's crazy because ever since I was 11 years old, single thing I had done so far had led up to that moment. It all happened. And it was like, yeah, I had the CD. I had this. I had that. And he followed through, but it took years after that. That's what people don't get. It wasn't like I rapped for him and that was it. You know, I rapped for him and thought it was going to be like that. That's why I didn't go to school. That's why I turned everything down. And then I stopped getting a response from him. And then all my friends are in college. A whole semester goes by and they're like, man, you could have came to school. What you still at home? Like, what's up with Kanye? What's up with your record deal? Like, what's up? Like,
that's the hardest to hear.
That's the hardest. And I come from a family. My grandma's like, why aren't you need to go to school. Like, this is the way to a better life. You know, she grew up in poverty and made her way to that point, you know, and she's like, education is the way. And it was the hardest thing to go against the grain, you know, and my mom was really one of the only people who, even though she was a teacher herself, right, an English teacher, has her master's degree, she knew what it was like to have a dream, and she knew what it was like to chase it, you know. So she believed, of course, education is important, but you can always go back and get it. You can't always live take that chance.
Can't do it the other way around, yeah.
So during that time period, for like a year and a half or two, what I did was, that was the first time I intentionally worked on myself. And I intensely would read these books and meditate every day and, you know, imagine myself like living the life that I was, you know, trying to live. And it just, I don't know how to explain it. It was like I felt like I was there. And what that did was it put me there. It really did. To make a long story short, it put me there.
What were the work that you were doing with that meditation and visioning? Because I'm sure, like you said, and I'm really glad you brought it up, because before, like you said, I was at the radio station. I was rapping live. I was nervous. Like what I find is that with yourself and stories like yours, there's manifestation, but there's also a ton of hard work in the background.
Yes, it is.
Tell me about that part of what were you doing in the background while you're meditating, you're envisioning, you're seeing yourself there. What's happening with rap music and music?
Well, one of the things that I would do in my meditations is I would put out let me attract the people, energy, places that I need to go to the next level in my career. Let me attract the people. And I would meet people. I would meet producers and we would lock in and, you know, who had a common belief as mine, or like, you know, the same one. And like, I'm trying to get on as a producer. Like, you trying to get on, let's work. Right. And I would write things down. It was just I treated it like it was a job. And also one of the things I had to put in perspective is that it didn't matter how hard I was working necessarily. It really mattered how smart I was working. You know, I had a perception, it is hard work, you're right. But I had the perception that it takes hard work, until I realized that some of the most successful people I knew would work a couple hours a day and enjoy their life. It's flowing. And at the end of me and my mom, we grew up in debt, and she worked 2 jobs. And she was working most of her life. So it just didn't make sense to me. You know, early on, I'm like, it's not about working hard. It's about working efficiently and smarter. So that's one of the things I really learned at that age too. So it's a
big lesson.
You know, because a lot of the other people who I would see at studios, they would be like, man, I made 8 songs today. Like, I'd be like, well, I've been working on the same song for like a week and a half, but it's not about that. You know, it's about the product. It's about what you're doing and not about necessarily how much you're pumping out. You know what I mean? And that was something I really had to accept, because your ego will not let you accept that sometimes. We've been conditioned, right, to think all these things. And that's I feel like one of the things your book talks about. We've been conditioned to think a certain way. We've been conditioned to, you know, we're given like a certain amount of guidance, options, directions. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to follow the line. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to do that. Hey, you guys got to do, you know, our whole lives. And a lot of that is just, some of it's great, but some of it just doesn't apply to everyone, you know. And that's one of the things I had to realize and redo my foundation of my whole life and be my architect.
Well said, man. That's beautiful. I love the way you've expressed that, because that must have been an uncomfortable place to live for 1 or 2 years. When you feel you're going to get your break, it doesn't happen. Your friends are now moved on. And everyone's...
And I'm still in the same bed that I grew up in. You know, I was sleeping in a twin size bed, man. I'm 18, 19 years old. You feel me? And it was so frustrating, and it was a test of my ego, bro. It was a test of my ego. But I would visualize Kanye reaching out. I just knew that it was gonna happen. I didn't know how. And like I was like, I'm gonna make it happen somehow. And it did, bro. And it's like something you gotta trust. You know, imagine you being on a cliff and it's like there's no more cliff there, but you like, hey man, there's an invisible bridge. You know, if you had a guidance next to you, like you had your higher self walking next to you, and you're like, bro, there's nowhere to walk. And he's like, I'm telling you, if you take a step, it's an invisible bridge right in front of you. And that takes a lot of faith to walk on that bridge. You know, that you can't even see. But that's what I had to do because that's the decision I made. I wasn't about to go back to school at that moment. I wasn't about to go back to my friends and be like, man, y'all was right. Like, I messed up, man. I should have just, I couldn't do it, and that may have been my ego too, but I did let that motivate me. And that's just how it went, and then he did reach out.
Yeah. Tell us about that moment, how it felt internally around, were you like, oh, wow, this manifestation stuff works? Was that a point where you deepened your faith and belief in the invisible bridge, where you were like, oh, this stuff really works? Or do you think you already believed that it worked and it was just about trust? Or was this like a confidence point?
I had to trust it first.
Yeah. Okay.
I had to trust it first.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And that's the thing with everything. You got to trust it. And then it started working. Things necessarily don't work before you trust it. It's kind of like you got, I think that's one of the lessons I had to learn. I had to trust in me, trust myself, trust the process, trust God's speed. That expression is so popular for a reason. You can make all these plans. My grandma used to always be like, man, God, you make all these plans, God's going to laugh at you.
Yes. Yeah.
That classic saying. And she would say that to me. And so many sayings like that just means so much more now because it's true. That's why it's so popular. What goes around comes around. All these little things that we heard.
They're true. Yeah.
They're true.
Yeah.
So it's been a beautiful time. And when he did reach out, it was just, it felt like it was confirmation that trust wasn't wasted. It's all a higher power, right? Yeah. And that is guiding us and wants to support us.
Yes.
And does support us. Not wants to, does support us.
Absolutely. Did you ask him why it took him so long?
Nah, because I knew people who were like 30, 40 years old that never got their shot. So I'm not going to be like, man, I'm not, it took 2 years. What took so long, But, and it was a process after that. And things, I'm not going to sit here and say life is smooth sailing.
Never.
It's not smooth sailing. It's like a constant unraveling experience, right? And things don't, it's so many times, bro, that things don't go my way. And I've done all the work and I'm like, why didn't this happen how I wanted it to happen? And then sometimes where I didn't expect things to do anything. And it turns out to be one of my biggest songs of my career, my biggest moments, or one of my greatest experiences, or things that I've like, okay, I put so much energy and power into this and then not do what I wanted it to do. Like, these are things that I go through on a daily basis, but I had to realize that it's all the side of life that I'm on is such a unique side, and it's the blessed side.
Yeah.
And that anything that happens to me, anything, whether it's all love, it's all beautiful, and it's something to be learned from it. It's something to be gained from it. It's when you win something, you learn something. When you lose something, you learn something. You still win something.
Yeah.
You gain something. So it's crazy, man. It's really crazy.
Did you find that when you finally made it into the music industry, that there were people like you that meditated, that were visioning, that were working from this deeper core place? Did you find that, or did you find that your spirituality was almost threatened or questioned, or there weren't people seeing eye to eye? How did you feel about that? Did you find like it was still natural to stay true to what got you there? Because you had a very different journey in terms of internal journey towards music.
Yeah, I would see both.
Yeah.
I would see people. One of the reasons I wanted to sign to Kanye, because his first album inspired me so much.
Yeah, same.
And I can tell that whether he knows it or not, he clearly is a manifester.
Mm-hmm.
He clearly is a spiritual being too, or you could call it religious. To me, it's there are so many similarities, right? But he is somebody who is a manifester. He's somebody who's a creator,
mm-hmm.
right? He is somebody who I've saw him wield ideas from, the inspiration of God, or, whatever he can say it is. But that drew me to him, you know what I mean? And yeah, I've seen it in a lot of people. I've seen it, when I sit and talk to Jay-Z, it's like, I don't have to sit and like talk to him so deeply about it. I can just tell that he has this, there are a lot of people who I met, even DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
He's somebody who is,
manifesting for sure.
A manifester, and then his story is crazy. I don't know if you've ever talked to him.
I haven't. No.
His story is crazy, man. And, it's a beautiful, beautiful story. And we all have stories. And there are people who, like, those are people who you would kind of like be like, oh, okay, I can see that. But then there are people who I also have met, or even Janae, you could tell Janae is like very aware.
For sure.
And, somebody who is spiritually in tune. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I love about this conversation and all the people you're mentioning. I think we see an external PR version of who we think those people are on the front cover of magazines or music videos or whatever it may be. But behind everyone, there's a deeper story. It wasn't just like that. Tell us about when. I'm intrigued because I feel like a lot of people listening to us right now, they may actually feel blocked from that envisioning, right? They feel blocked. Like they feel like they're not getting. When have you felt blocked? Or if someone's listening and they feel blocked, what's blocking them? Like how do they remove that? How do they let go? What are they needing to let go of?
Well, this is deep, dog. You're getting deep.
I had to go there with you. You're giving me deep talk, so I don't want to, gotta dive in.
Well, one thing I've learned on my journey is that there are blocks that are sometimes placed on us from our parents or from our surroundings. And whether you believe this or not, I believe it is true, even from a past life. And it makes total sense because I've met complete babies who were like, this is like an old man sitting here, right? He's very mature, it's like, but anyway, I have worked with people who have helped me remove blocks from my life. Marie Diamond being one of them, and that's a whole deeper conversation. But she has, in the last few years, is someone who has helped, who has been a mentor to me spiritually and helped me along my spiritual journey. And, honestly, when I just think about the blocks that I've had in my life. So to go back to that, to think about people who are feeling blocked, know that you have to believe that you can feel unblocked, because you're giving it power by acknowledging like, I'm blocked. You're putting that out in the universe. Remember, like what we said, the sayings that people live by that you've heard, what goes around comes around, what you get is what you give. Those are real things. And you subconsciously, and that subconscious mind is just as powerful as the conscious one. When you say, oh, I'm feeling blocked, or man, I'm down bad. I've heard people just say all these things that they put on themselves, like, I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. So, okay, imagine if you're in front of the universe and God, and he's like, whatever you say, I'm going to give back to you. Like, whatever you say, I'm going to give it back to you. So you sitting up here like, I can't figure it out, man. I can't make money. I can't do this. I can't do, I feel like it's like, even when I did feel blocked, and if I did think that, I never owned it. And I'd be like, no, okay, I got to switch that. I got to feel better. So the first key to unblocking something is acknowledging that you are blocking yourself for sure. And I do think there are some deeper blocks that you got to work harder on to remove, like blocks that may have not even been put there from you. So you're not even acknowledging it or know how to remove it. And there are special people who can do this, that can help you get rid of it. But I do feel like you're blocking yourself, and you got to realize that. Stop blocking yourself. It doesn't matter if you don't have money. Don't say you don't have money.
Yeah.
Be like, I got money. Money's coming in right now. Like, it feels good to be rich. If you keep that mentality and you're not rich, I promise you, if you really believe it, which you have to believe it because you just have to. If you will be whatever you want to be. And it's never too late to be who you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I used to have a mentor, I remember, he used to repeat to me the Napoleon Hill words of like, you become what you think about.
Yeah.
And he just keeps saying it to me, and he told me to keep saying it. When he first said it, I was just like, oh, come on. Like, you know, how many times are you going to say it? It's like a mantra. When I first became a monk and they introduced me to mantra,
Man,
you're saying the same thing every day, again and again, and you're thinking, oh, this ain't going to work. But actually what you're saying is true, that when you repeat, you become what you think about.
Yeah.
And when you keep repeating it, it becomes your vocabulary, it becomes your mindset, it becomes your thought, and then it becomes your reality. And you're spot on. I love what you said about being in front of God and you saying, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. And God's giving you back exactly what you're repeating.
He's like, you're right, man, you can't.
Yeah.
All right, hey. Like.
Yeah, you said it. Yeah, and that is such a great way of thinking about it as a conversation around how we're creating our reality through our repetition.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to you about being a monk too. That's like when we have dinner next week. But one of the things that made me think about this is when I would come home and watch Bob Ross on PBS painting the pictures, or when I would watch Michael Jordan and all these, or Kobe Bryant and all these inspiring people when I was growing up. Mike Tyson, right? Or just Michael Jackson, anybody that I can think of. I like our like artwork on the wall.
A few people you mentioned are up there. So yeah, there's a few people.
But when I was thinking about that, it just brings me back to technique. How much of life is truly technique. And that is one of the biggest secrets I've learned. When I was going through one of the roughest times of my life a few years ago, I had just turned 30 and I was feeling so depressed, bro. And I had just moved into my house that I've been in for a few years in Beverly Hills, right? Slashes. I got it from Slash from Guns N' Roses. You know, all my neighbors are, Vanna White is my neighbor. I'm like talking like, this is like, to me, this was like my dream. This is my dream neighborhood, right? And I was in the worst condition of my life, bro. I felt like it was just too hard for me to even get through the day. I felt like...
How did you get there? Why did it get there? After all of this envisioning, focus, inner work, how did it get there?
You know why I got there? Because I lost touch with it a little bit. Not just because of that. I burned myself out. I wasn't paying attention to what myself was saying to me. I was doing it for all different other reasons. I need to do this show. I need to do 5 shows so I can get this money, take care of this person, do it for this. Oh, my management, everybody is expecting me. I got these people. I got people who are on my payrolls. I'm like, I'm putting everybody before me.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to balance work and work because there's a work that you do for your career and there's a work that you do for yourself.
Yes.
No one ever taught me that because no one knew. No one knew, no one knew. Like, this is something that my dad didn't know. This is something my mom didn't know. Their mentality is you work as hard as you can, you work as hard as you can. So I come from a place where it's like, you got to keep the foot on their necks. You got to keep going hard. You don't want to lose your opportunity.
Yeah.
That was my thinking. But really, I had already had it.
Yeah.
You know, I already have it. So now to take it to another place, I got to take care of myself so I can bring my best self to the table. And it's something that life forced me to do. It's something that life forced me to do, man. And I had to stop everything I was doing and completely fall back, bro. Completely fall back from looking at things about me, from being online, completely fall back from all the obligations I had to do, performances, money I was losing. Like, it was just like I had to fall back from everything and take some time. And that's when I met Marie Diamond. And obviously I had seen her on The Secret. I knew about her. And my mom, taking one of her classes, emailed Marie Diamond and was like, hey, my son is a musician, this and this and this. And then she got an email back from Marie Diamond. And my mom was freaking out. And Marie Diamond said, this is so crazy because my son has Sean on his vision board.
Wow.
And she was, I've never worked with a rapper. I've never done anything. Like this. She's worked with big people, big clients. But anyway, that was a serendipity.
Yeah.
That was a meant to be thing. And that came at a time right where I needed it. And I got into the technique of loving myself, bro. Bringing it back to the point I said earlier, when I would look at Bob Ross and Michael Jordan, it's all technique. So much of life is technique. What you do is technique. Because I had to get into the technique of loving myself. I had to really make sure that I put myself as a priority. My meditations came before anything. Me writing down my intentions, every day or every other day, or, writing my thoughts down, like that was a priority to me. Spending time for myself, being out in nature, right? Working. I started taking care of myself more, working out. That's something I never did. I gained 30 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, we got to show like a before and after.
Yeah. We'll get it for this.
Crazy. I used to look totally different. It changed me for the better, and it's built my strength up. It's given me more strength to deal with things when they don't go my way. Before, it would tear me down. Before, I used to let people's opinions about me really affect me.
Yeah, same.
And now it's like, what am I even thinking right now? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's crazy how we can look and see a comment that's like, I love you. I appreciate you. You changed my life. Amazing. Man, this guy sucks. And we'd be like, man, this dude just said I suck. I'm doing something wrong, It's crazy how our mind immediately goes there because our ego.
Yeah.
Or maybe because something else, but I think it's just that ego.
It is.
Yeah. But I had to get into the technique of loving myself, man, for real.
But what I respect about you is it took